Hey guys, welcome. Happy Monday. I'm super excited. I know y'all say this girl say she is super excited all the time, but I am. I'm always excited to come on and speak to you all and have my guests on and talk about whatever the set topic is for that segment. So today we are talking about life after divorce, seasons of divorce, I shall say. But before we go there, I want to introduce myself to those of you who may not know who I am. I am Tamara Johnson. I am the founder of Make It Rise. Rise is an acronym for Rebuild Intentionally and Strategically for Effectiveness. I'm also the founder of the movement Life After Divorce. I want to make this very clear because I've had the conversation a couple of times over the weekend. I do not advocate for divorce, but I do advocate for those who have gone through divorce, the healing process of it, the journey of it, how to get there, right? We all have the end goal of after divorce or after anything traumatic has happened to us, but oftentimes we haven't set a plan or we don't know what it looks like to actually get to the other side of that thing. And so that's what this movement is all about. It's not a divorce movement, it's a healing movement. And so I am just super excited that I have been granted the opportunity, the task, the assignment to be the person or one of the people that is saying that there is life after divorce. And we are doing that by so many different ways. But one way that we are doing it today, we're going to talk about the book, the journal that was written by 12 other women, myself and 12 other women. It is an anthology. It's an anthology. And it is a journal, January through December. And we are talking about the seasons of divorce. If you have ever been divorced, if you've ever gone through anything traumatic, but we're talking about divorce in this. If you've ever experienced that, you know that there are days where you have good days, bad days, okay days, days, right? And sometimes it's not even days, it's minutes. I'm good this minute, the next minute I'm not. You're not crazy. I want you to know that you're not crazy. Your feelings are valid. What you are going through is going to be or feel like a tug of war. You're going to have self-talk. You're going to have self-doubt. You're going to have questions. You're going to have concerns. You're going to feel like you failed. There are going to be all of these different emotions that you encounter. And that is why I am here, myself and the team that I have created. This movement that we are curating is going to grow and blow my mind. I already know it because it's already surpassed what it is that I thought it would be. And so I'm just, again, grateful and honored to be one of the ones that God has called to say, hey, I need you to do this. One thing that I have understood is that with saying yes, I have been put under a light where my life is being lived out loud, literally, right? And there are some things that I don't want people to know about what I'm going through. But unfortunately, in order for my saying to be true, my transparency is someone's road to recovery. In order for that to be shown and proved, I sometimes have to show and share some things that I'm going through with God's approval. So there's some things that God is like, nope, that ain't nobody's business. I'm working through that, right? And there's some things where he says, I need you to share that. Sometimes very, very uncomfortable, but I trust him. And so that's what I'm doing. But today, again, you guys, I want to say thank you for coming on. For those of you who are here, those of you who are coming, that came back for the replay, thank you. Please leave your comments and questions, and we'll still get back to you, even if it's after the live. But today we have my beautiful, amazing, high vibration sister, Ines Johnson. Listen, let me tell y'all something. Outside of any of this lady right here is a force to be reckoned with. Her energy is off the charts, right? If you are a person that doesn't have high energy, it might rub you the wrong way, but she'll tell you like, oh, that's your issue, not mine, right? Because she's going to be who she's going to be regardless. And you got to love her for it. We all desire, or we all deserve to have someone in our circle and in our corner that can pour life into us, even when we aren't feeling as lively, right? So I have Miss Ines Johnson that I am going to bring on, and I'll share a little bit more about her. Once I pull her on the screen, stand by. There she, all that beauty. Listen, girl.
How you doing?
As you say, girl, you fine.
Okay.
Listen, so Ines, thank you so much for coming on today. First of all, let me back up. Thank you for locking arms with me in the movement of life after divorce. You already know I don't take this for granted. You know, this is not a game for me. You've seen me cry behind it. You've seen me laugh behind it. You've seen me fast behind it.
Yes.
You've seen me go through things as a result of it in my own personal relationship.
Right.
And I knew it had to happen. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to teach it, right? And so
Right.
I say thank you for being one of those pillars that I'm able to just say, pray, and you go in. Or not even that. You hear something from God and you've called me on a whim, like, hey, sis, you busy? Yep, had a dream. And we know that your dreams mean something. And so I say thank you for your obedience. Thank you for locking arms with me. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for your love. I don't take it for granted. I appreciate you, right? And so before we move forward, please, please, please introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, what you do, what you have going on, and what they can expect from you.
Wow, that was an amazing. And I gotta, I gotta rise up, to the occasion to match all of that. Okay. So again, my name is Ines Johnson. I am a chef. I am an event coordinator. I do healthy meal prep. I actually have a certification as a health coach. I've lost over 160 pounds through my own food. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I actually coach women in weight loss. The testimonies are amazing, and I just want them to understand that it's been done. Like, I was my very first client. I was the very first person to say, look, let me see what this is going to do. And after keeping it off, my journey started in 2017, and I've kept well over 100 pounds off since 2017. So now I'm out here just helping others, changing lives. My heart is about service. So just full service catering. I rent out a venue in Baldwin Hills. I'm connected to a lot of people with rentals and stuff. So we're both like connectors. We're both conduits. People call us for a lot of, a lot of different things, but
Right.
I'm go to for events, for planning, for chef needs. I do private chef work as well. And also I am the founder of Beautiful Minds. And that's an organization for Black women entrepreneurs and visionaries. And my good friend Tam, she's the co-founder of the organization. So there's so much to be said and so much to be done. But I just want to say from my heart, I am grateful that I was able to lock into this vision, because I believe in you. I believe in your vision. I believe in this movement. And I believe that this is one very, very untouched subject that is almost taboo. It's like an elephant in the room. People don't want to touch it. They don't want to see it. It's like, oh, we know it's there, but we really don't want to not be that flamingo with our head in the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
We really need to pull up and face it head on so that the healing process can begin. So I just want to say to my sister, Tam, thank you. I
Absolutely.
appreciate your obedience and this movement, because it's moving, baby. It's moving. It's moving. Extremely proud of you, and to know that so many women and men now have locked into this vision. Just know that one person can change the world, and just know that you're changing the world around you first, and it's going to go abroad. So baby, I'm here for it all. I'm
I
here for
love it. I love it. I love it. You said some key words. You talked about healing, and you talked about how people don't want to talk about divorce, that it's taboo. It seems to be taboo. One thing I can say that it feels like it's being talked about a little bit more here lately, and I'm so grateful for that. And I've been trying to connect with the other women or men who are sharing a little bit about it. But I think my stance in life after divorce, it has so many different arms to it, I'll say.
like an
So yeah, what you say?
it's like an octopus. There is just,
That's exactly what I was thinking.
yeah, I know. I
Yeah, I already know, right? And so I come from a place of, okay, this is where you're at, but where are you going? And how do you get there? And there's so many different facets of divorce. There's like coming up soon, I have the men's seminar where they'll be talking about the after effect of divorce. So they'll be talking about single after divorce, remarrying after divorce. They'll talk about celibacy after divorce, sex after divorce, all of those things that we kind of just brush to the side, or we may say, yeah, I'm divorced, and we keep it moving, right? But now let's dig down deep into this thing and talk about how do we heal from divorce, right? We haven't been given permission to freely talk about it other than, if we say something about it in a church, you held bound, you've sinned, just make you feel horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm here to say that that's a lie. It's a lie. You're not a failure. You have not sinned, right? It's a choice that you made. And just like you chose to be married, you chose to be divorced as a result of whatever was going on in your marriage. So, Ines, I want to just jump right on in with you and ask you a couple of questions outside of what's in the book, but also I'm going to tap into that as well. My first question to you is, how long were you married? Like, how long were you married? And then going into that marriage, did you do the proper work to even get there? Or did you just say, he fine, I'm about to do this?
The crazy part is I didn't think he was fine at all.
Oh.
That's why, and not even being funny, he was not my type, like, at all. It was nobody but God. It was a divine connection, you know what I'm saying? But I think we all understand that God can put something together, but man can tear it apart. You know what I mean? So we have to be very, very careful and knowing what God is doing and how to keep it sacred and keep God in the middle of it, because as soon as he's removed, that's when things can fall apart. So I just want to say I got married at a very young age. I was only 25. I was a single mother of 4 children when I got married. So I can tell you firsthand that I was just in the groove of trying to get it together, of being a mom of 4 babies, 2 boys, 2 girls at such a young age. And I just wanted stability for my children. And I wanted like a solid foundation. I was born and raised in church. I just did not, listen, let me just be transparent.
Please.
I know that I was going to be out there thotting and bopping and have 4 babies out of wedlock. Okay. I shocked myself. Okay. I shocked myself. But I was just happy that somebody said, baby, I love you and your 4 kids. And I'm gonna, like into this. And we are going to build and be a family. So I can tell you that I was broken in a lot of areas. I didn't know who I was. I went from graduating high school to being a mother, and that's all I knew was raising my children. I didn't have the blueprint on how to be a effective wife, how to be a praying wife, how to be a submissive wife, how to be a wife that had this man's back 100%. So absolutely not. I went into this marriage not knowing what I was doing, with an idea of something, but not knowing the root of the work that it took to get to the process of marriage.
Ooh, listen. And that, my people, is why we are here. Because, see, here's the thing. Folks think that I am pushing divorce, and I'm not. I'm pushing healthy marriages. At the end of the day, that's the end goal. The end goal is healthy marriage, healthy relationship, right? But before we can admit the things that you just admitted, sis, we will continue to run this same circle of hiding behind, covering up behind either the word of God. We use the word of God to cover up some things that we need to.
For us, though.
Yeah. We need to just be open and transparent as you were. You went into this thing like, hey, oh, you loving me? Okay, well, let me step in this. I got 4 kids and you're still accepting me. There were some insecurities there. There was some brokenness there. And that's why it's so important that as a divorced woman or man, we do the work to become healed, to be healed, so that when we do get into relationships. Now, listen, here's the thing. Not only just a romantic relationship, business relationships, friendships, all of this matters in any ship, right? Now, I don't care what ship you're on.
Ship, baby, in any ship. I
don't care. All of the ships, you need to be healed.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'm 100.
Yeah. And so you sharing that, all of what you just shared says, I appreciate you, because you already know, in order for anyone to, the prerequisite, let's be clear, to be on my show or to sit and have like a counseling session with me, is that you be transparent. Because I think you are doing yourself a disjustice, and you wasting my time if you're not giving me all of it. How can I help you? I don't know what to go to God for on your behalf. Right. I don't know what to not forget God, but removing the spiritual aspect of it, because I know not everyone, I don't get to connect with everyone spiritually, right? But practically, I need to know what it is that I need to give you. And if you're only giving me a piece of, because you're trying to cover up the things or the part that you did, I've been there before where I'm like, no, I'm just going to tell his part. I'm just going to tell what he did, right? You got to get to a point where you say, let me look in the mirror and stop looking out of the window. So the workshop that you attended a couple of weeks back, we talked about closing the window. I gave them an opportunity to pinpoint the things and people that they were using as the pointer, or as we say, the first account of passing the buck is with Adam and Eve, right? So we did all of that. Okay, it's past the buck time. Okay, now it's time to close the window. And that is what I say to everyone. Right. It is time to look in the mirror. And so with you sharing all of those things, it tells me that you've given yourself an opportunity to begin or to be healed, be in the healing process, because you had to look at Ines. You had to look at the why to the what.
Oh yeah, for sure. It didn't take long for me. My relationship with the Father is unmatched. I always say, like, Inez is a hot mess, but the God in me is pretty powerful. And I recognize my faults. I call myself an easy study. I'm not that kind of person that says, well, this is just me, take it or leave it. I feel like my company's called Evolve. In order to evolve and grow as a woman and become a better version of yourself daily, you have to recognize where you went wrong, the part that you played, take ownership of it, apologize when it's necessary, and make the necessary changes so that you can grow properly. Because there's no way, and I did a lot of maturing, because I did get married. 25 is pretty young. I mean, I have my children are, I can't imagine my kids in that position that I was in at that age. It's unfathomable. I'm like, whoa, they wouldn't have been able to handle any of that I had to go through. But I went into it with good intentions, but I went into it ill prepared. So have the right intentions, but you can be ill prepared. So my was in the right place. I wanted to be honorable before God. I didn't want to sin. I honestly, like, that was my prayer, just being super transparent. It's like, Lord, I'm so good in all these areas, but this area right here, I really need help in that. And I actually prayed, like, God, please send me my mate. Send me, like, I want to live right. I want to be right. I want to raise my children in the right way. But with that, I needed to, it was so many levels before I get there. And I felt like I bypassed a whole workshop. You hear me? A whole life shop.
Now listen.
Before I should have said I do. I should have said I do to me first. And I did not. And that's
important.
The difficult part with the resolution of the marriage. We were married for 11 years. And I can say that it wasn't always peaches and roses, but one thing my ex-husband said to me that was extremely profound, that really kind of like a light bulb just like went off. He said, I felt like I was on an island by myself. That it was you and the kids, and then it was me. Never felt included in it. And that was a very, very tough pill for me to swallow, because I think in the midst of it, when you feel like you're doing the right things, you don't really see yourself. You don't look in the mirror. You're looking out the window. And I wasn't passing the buck or blaming him, but I honestly did not know what he was feeling, because I can say, just super, super transparent, our communication was not, our sex life was amazing, right? But our communication was horrible. Like, he kept a lot of things to himself. And he said, as a man, I felt like I couldn't share. I couldn't be vulnerable. And for me, as your wife, if you're not vulnerable with me, who can you be vulnerable with? So that was a big wake up call to me. Like, this man doesn't really trust me with his heart. That was a big blow to the chest. You know what I'm saying? He really didn't trust me with the innermost parts of who he was, because he felt like he had to put on a facade to be this person for children. So we never really got to that place of intimacy, and we were married for 11 years.
Wow. Wow. That's deep. And I'm so glad that you shared that because there's people on that are married, right? And so I think it's very important that we are able to talk about the things that we may have dropped the ball in a little bit while we were married, so that those that are currently married can hear what that looks like in action, right? So that they can take an account of, like, wait a minute, am I doing that? Or maybe this was said to them and they thought you tripping or what have you, but this is where this is where you land, right? When you are told something and you don't respond to it accordingly. There were a lot of things in my marriage that my ex-husband shared with me that I in the moment was like, whatever, that's, no truth to it. But okay, so moving outside of the marriage, dating other people, hearing the same thing puts you in place of saying, whoa, wait a minute. So everyone can't think the same thing. It can't
Right.
be them. So it has to be me. So I have to take time to look at myself and just come to grips with it and say, okay, Tam, so how do you work through this thing, right? Because I desire to be married again. I don't want to make those same mistakes, but I may make some mistakes.
Right.
But as you said, going in with the right intent is one thing, but actually being able to execute the things that should be done is completely different. And if we don't have platforms such as this, if we don't have godly counsel, if we don't have folks that's in our life that have been married and have done that thing, good, bad, or
Right.
indifferent, we are setting ourselves up for failure. We cannot go into it thinking that we got it. This is a completely different world. Marriage is a completely different world, and it looks good at the wedding.
It really looks great, and you're
It
spending.
looks good at the wedding.
It's a bunch of baby. I had a horse and carriage. You know I'm extra. I had an
Listen,
entire princess horse and carriage. We got married overlooking the water, baby. It was like a out of somebody's magazine because I'm just that person. Okay,
right,
but at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, when you look back on all the hoopla is what I call it, because we
uh-huh,
were asking a lot of things. The intent, like I said, we went in and like we're in love, but slowly, I'm gonna tell you, to be honest, like I was shocked that we even made it to the first 5 years. I
wow,
ooh, I'm doing this, Jesus. Look at me. But I really wasn't. I really wasn't. This man told me that he was in a ring by himself for years. He was fighting a fight for years, but because of the lack of communication, I was not aware that he was fighting. So
right,
when he decided to separate, girl, listen, I was sick to my stomach because it was a shock to me. A lot of times in marriage, when you're going through something with your spouse, you're not blinded or
right,
blindsided by what's really happening and what's going on. But
right,
I was blindsided.
yeah,
I got a call and I was like, whoa, what? Am I being punked right now?
right,
He never effectively communicated how he truly felt, what was hurting him, how he was feeling, how I made him feel. Like I said, I was young. I would like give him the business and tell him how I felt in front of my children. So
mm.
this is the key, and this is like a nugget for anybody that's married,
Nuggets,
that are with other people. You bringing in children. Whatever y'all doing, whatever you say, you do it behind closed doors.
that's
You
right,
allow your children in that intimate space of your marriage, because the children will lose all respect for your spouse.
yep,
And now you're wondering why they act in a certain way and why they feel in a certain way is because I set the precedence. I did that. They only followed my lead. And if they
yeah,
saw me being disrespectful, and if they saw me talking out of the side of my mouth and just wilding out for nothing, why would they respect this man if they didn't see respect from me? So listen,
yeah,
keep your private, intimate discussions away. Don't even raise your voice where your kids can hear
right,
behind closed doors. If y'all got to take a walk, if you have to take a drive, do what's necessary, because looking back on it, my kids came to me and they were like, yeah, we were all plotting against this divorce. My children were plotting. And this is going to sound crazy, having meetings on how to
wow,
break myself and my husband up because they did not respect
yeah.
the man that I married.
You know what? Wow. And bigger than that, sis, bigger than that. We have to be mindful of doing those things in front of them, because what are we teaching them, right? So then they become that. Even in, you're going to have someone, you have 4 kids. You're normally, there's one, at least one of them that does the opposite. I mean, that does the same thing. And there may be a few of them that does the opposite, like, no, we saw this, we know how it affected us, so not going to do that. But
Right.
there's a very high chance of someone, one,
Repeat
two, three, or
cycle.
all 4 of them, repeating that cycle, right? And having to go through the purge of that, having
Yeah.
to go through, okay, why do I do that?
Right.
Right? Having to relive what they saw as children and remembering, having those aha moments, right? But yes, definitely loss of respect. And here's the thing: when we're over whatever the issue was, the
Yeah.
people that we share the information with, who we go off on him in front of, they're not over it, because
Right.
they're committed to us. Their commitment is to us. So
Right.
they're concerned about our heart. Even if I forgive, my person, and I've shared all of these things with everyone else, I have no choice but to understand that they're going to be like, yeah, I don't like him,
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
what I've shared or what I've done and said in front of them to
Right.
him. So definitely, but the kids, hands down, that is your home. That is the first order of service. So we
Yeah.
talk about being servants and serving our people and serving others. The first place of serving is at home. And
Right.
you talked about him, you guys not having that communication aspect or piece. That is so important, that not only is it communication, but effective communication,
Right.
knowing how, knowing each other's language, right? And not saying that I should only speak his language to him, but I have to become bilingual. And I have to speak his language and incorporate mine in there as well, so that he can understand that there's a part of my first book, The Marriage Policies and Procedures. One of the chapters talk about being a teacher and a student at
Yeah.
all times.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to evolve. So when you got married, 11 years later, heck, 5 years later, 2 years later, you were someone else, because you were evolving into the young lady, the grown adult, the wife. You weren't his wife before. You were a wife, God's wife, but you were not his wife. So now there's a lot of things that you're going to have to adjust and change, stop, do more of, less of, whatever that looks like. And so if I'm not telling you, babe, from the smallest thing, babe, I don't really like green anymore. You keep bringing me these green socks. I don't know. You instead of just saying that, some people will be like, oh, okay, let me take these socks. At least he's trying. No, that's not fair, because once you get upset, now you're throwing that in his face. Like, he or she should know that. But if we aren't speaking it, hey
Right.
babe, right now the color the color of the week is yellow.
Color of the week is yellow.
And
Period.
women, we change. We
All the time.
listen all the time, all over the place. I don't like that anymore. 2 days later.
Days later. And I think I call them implosions. And I felt like he was dealing with a lot of implosions. And
Mm,
it hurt me to know at the end that I felt that this could have been rectified if you would have given me the opportunity to
mhm.
make a change. If you would have allowed that light to go onto that subject for me to say, you know what, you're right. You know,
Yeah,
apologize. You know what, I didn't mean it that way. You know, my delivery was wrong. And I never got that opportunity. And I'm not blaming him. It
mhm.
just hurts my heart that I know who I am today. And I think the woman that I am now would have forced that back then, would have
Yeah,
made more of an issue. But as you were saying, a woman is changing. I became someone I didn't even know. So I didn't even know Inez. I was literally just kind of going through the motions, and I was existing, and I stopped living long time ago. I was his,
ooh,
I was a mother. We were in ministry. We met at church. I
mhm.
was singing, he was on the bass guitar. That's how we got married. That's how we met, you know? So ministry was very important. We soon became like literally second command right under the pastor and wife. So we were there opening, closing during the week. We did praise and worship. We did everything. So then the ministry became number one and not
Yeah,
ministry. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
in the word, where that's ministry starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
So when we became more active in church, the church took a higher precedence than we were in our own house. He was so eager to please the pastor, where my feelings were being disregarded every single day. I was
Yeah.
having silent implosions. I was having silent hurts and pains, and it was making me very bitter to the church. And the crazy thing is, I was a member of this church for a long time. He came into a ministry that I was at from the day one, since they opened. And I
Wow.
was becoming very bitter and resentful of a ministry that I loved because of how it was affecting my home. And
Yeah.
it's extremely difficult for me to swallow. And I was like, I'm leading praise and worship, but I don't want to go to rehearsal. Go without.
Yeah.
This is was becoming, like, towards the end, it was just becoming, just I was becoming someone else. He was
Yeah.
becoming someone else. We didn't even recognize each other. And the
Yeah.
intimacy wasn't, I felt like we were just going through the motions. And at some point there was going to be a breaking point,
Mm-hmm.
but baby, I was still shocked because
Yeah.
I'm a fighter. You
Yeah.
I love extremely hard. I'm very, very passionate. I'm giving 110% of everything that I have. And I was like the first one of my siblings to get married. I was the first one of my siblings to buy a home. I was the first one of my siblings to graduate from college. I was the first. I
Yeah.
didn't first to get divorced.
Mm.
What I'm saying, I'm good with all the good stuff, but divorce was not an option for,
Yeah.
because I saw that I did not have a good example growing up. So I didn't have, like I said, there was no blueprint for me with marriage. My mom was married 4 times, and I never physically saw a healthy marriage in front of me, not even with my own mom and dad. So
So,
I was
so can I just interject right there a little bit, because we say I didn't have an example. You had that was the blueprint, right? The blueprint didn't make it the right print, but it was the blueprint. So you saw that, and your thing was, I'm not doing that. That was the blueprint that was given to you. You wanted to create and design your own blueprint, but you didn't have the proper tools to use in
right,
order for you to recreate it or to design it in a different manner. You designed it in a different manner, but it just wasn't a healthy manner because you just didn't know.
yeah,
And you talked about the church. I'm going to take a short pause for the cause right here. To my church people, I'm going to say it. To the church people that are going, what'd you say?
I said, speak on it, sis.
Yes, that's going to church and putting your pastor, your pastor's wife, the deacon board, the deaconess board, all of these different ministries before you put home. Shame on you, right? You're going to see your marriage crumble right before your face because your pastor is merely a man or a woman. Your bishop is a man or a woman. I tell you, I am it just rubs me the wrong way when I see people. Now, don't get me wrong, have respect for them.
Of course.
Absolutely. They're your shepherd. They're teaching you. I have mad respect and love for mine. But at the same time, we have to understand that home comes first. It is your first ministry. So as my pastors say often, like if you're going home and you're talking about him all the time to your husband, he don't want to hear about no other man. Your wife doesn't want to hear about another woman. Like, yeah, because Sheila at work, she good. She's, her, what she does as an administrator, your wife doesn't want to hear all of that, especially if you're not in a good position or space. And
Right,
low key, you're saying those things to say, so you need to. I
right,
was her. I was
right,
her. I tried to church my husband, my ex-husband, to death. I tried to, create this man that he wasn't the
right.
wrong way. I didn't even have grounds to create him to be anything, right? But the things that I would share, like, oh, Rafer said this, or, at church, this happened. And he was at church with me. We were under the same teaching, but for some reason, I felt like his ears were clogged, right? And so I felt like I needed to repeat,
Let
and repeat.
with you again.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that. That's very unattractive. It's a turnoff, and it only gives the enemy an opportunity to do what he does, and that is working you guys against each other. You should
Right.
be working together as a team and not against each other. Fight together, not each other. I just had to say that because, man, it
That
happens too often.
it's a beautiful thing to come to that realization. And I pray for the church just in general, and just because that movie, that it's a three-strand cord.
Mhm,
It's you, your husband, and God. And
mhm.
as soon as you remove God, my pastor would always say, when the husband is out of place, the wife is displaced and the children are misplaced.
Mm,
It starts at the head. You know what I'm saying? But when you were saying earlier, when you involve other people in that space, they don't even know how to react, because God can be there, but now it's God and a whole bunch of your homies and your sister, your brother, your mom. Like, you really have to put things into perspective. And that
yeah,
even goes with your pastor not being God. The
that's
ministry is not God. God is God. And I
all by
think
himself.
people lose sight of that, and they feel like they're serving God by serving ministry. And that's
Mm,
two different things. It's about relationship with our
that's
Father.
it. That's
And
it.
that's where people are like, well, I go to church, I do this for the ministry. And it just reminds me of the word. And he's saying, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I don't even know you. It's not about your works, it's about your relationship.
Right.
So how dare you put your works in your relationship, in your marriage, and act like your works are greater and bigger than what you guys have built? How dare you?
How dare you? How dare you? That's good. That's good. But we're gonna skip on into like what we really are here for, which is the book. I listen. Yes, I noticed that. Well, I noticed, but all of the ladies that are in the book, they gave me a quote, they gave a scripture, and then they wrote a piece for the woman who has the journal to write, like a writing prompt.
Yes.
And so I want to talk about your scripture that you chose, and then just a piece of your writing. So you chose Habakkuk 2:2. One of my faves. One of my faves. It says, "Then the Lord answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it." Right, and I used to look at that scripture, and I always first thought about it as whatever I write, the other person, whoever is outside of me, they read it and they know what it is my plan is, right? And then one day God says, but it start with you. You got to read it. Like, are
Yeah.
you reading it every day? Are you
Yeah.
calling yourself
Yeah.
to what you're saying you've written?
Right.
Are you holding yourself accountable? That scripture screams accountability to me.
Yeah.
And then everyone else that reads it, then they can hold me accountable. But I need to hold myself. There's been things I said, I ain't writing that. I'm
Right.
not writing it, because if I write it, I got to put forth a foot to make it happen, right? And sometimes making it happen, the action, the reality of it is it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot.
It
So
is.
when you chose this scripture, what were your thoughts behind that?
My thoughts were, I like I said, I was just going through the motions in this marriage, and I lost myself. And I had to go on this healing journey, and it began with me. So I became journaling. Like, I just became a journal.
Right.
Every thought, every prayer, everything, I had to write it down. I had to look at it. I had to remind myself daily. And there's a space, when a marriage has failed, a lot of women and men, they feel like they're the failures. The marriage failed, so I am a failure. And I
Right.
was in that space. So I had to write positive affirmations. I had to write healing messages to myself. I had to journal. I had to get to a space, and I had to pray. So when I talk about writing the vision and making it plain, it's first of all learning who I am as a divorced woman, who I am first as
Yeah.
Inez today, right now.
Yeah.
And then writing that down so that I can figure and navigate through the healing process of this. I felt like I lost so much, and I lost me, and I am someone that I never want to lose again. Now that I found her, I don't want to
Yeah.
lose her again. So writing my visions and
Mhm.
making them plain definitely starts with me. I lead by example in every aspect of my life. So it's an inward thing first.
Yeah.
And I got back to Inez once, the divorce was dissolved, and I started my healing. My business flourished.
Yeah.
My friendships flourished. Everything around me flourished because I had to heal from within, but I had to recognize it, write it down, make it plain for
Yeah.
me first.
That's right. Accountability. Exactly. I love that scripture, and that's exactly what it is. So, for those of you who care for that scripture, that like that scripture, never read the scripture, I recommend that you pull it up. I'll put it back up there. It's Habakkuk 2:2. I recommend that you pull it up and you call that the accountability scripture, right? Instead of thinking that the other people, other folks that read it are supposed to know, you're supposed to know what I'm doing because I wrote it down, you read it. No, do you know what you're doing? Did
Right.
you read it? Are you making it your reality? What does that look like in action? Because we can say we want a certain thing or certain people or certain business or what have you, but getting it looks completely different in action. You know, there's going to be some things that you are going to be challenged with, and a lot of times you have to be challenged with that thing, because we need to see how, or you need to see, God needs to see how much you're going to give yourself permission to stretch. It is a stretching thing. Like, how far are you able, or are you going to just pop immediately, or just give in, give up? Like, you know what, this is too much. I'm good. I don't want to do it. We're
Yeah.
quick to throw in the towel. Hang in there, you guys. Hang in there. Um, you wrote that a piece of your writing, you said you are the director, you are the creator, and you are the writer of your story. You said dig deep and tap into your visions and dreams, because the story of your life is still being written. I thought that was so profound, because with my movement, Life After Divorce, with me saying live life loud, with me saying, I'm giving y'all a piece of my life after divorce. I've been posting that lately because I recently went through, something that was, for me, traumatic, unbelievable, hard to accept, but I had to accept it. But it's one day at a time, one piece at a time, 1 minute at a time. And so as I share those things with people, I have to realize that life has not ended just because I experienced something that didn't feel good or that I didn't necessarily agree with, but it is another piece of my life beginning. It's another part of me, as something that I can create, right? I know that I have to live through certain things in order for God to give me that lesson to teach. And so this, where I'm at today, I know that that's what this is about. But when you shared this piece in the story, in the book, and you talked about your life is still being written, man, that says don't give up, don't stop. That's what I take from it. But what is your take on it?
We are the authors. We definitely are. I write just, you know, like right.
Right.
But I believe that just our stories, we have so much power. Life and death, is in the power of our tongues. We have so much power to change our story, to
Yeah.
rewrite our story. I'm a firm believer, if you're in a position where you're unhappy, you have the opportunity to make a difference. You have an opportunity to change right now. And there is life after divorce. There
Mhm.
is life after your children move out. There is life after everything, because it's your life. And as long as you have air in your lungs and you are still here, you have the opportunity to create your destiny. You have the opportunity to set the path. I always say, God, you lead, I follow. I'm
Mhm.
right behind you, God, but I need you to
Mhm.
be right in front. So as you're giving me the visions, as you're giving me the ideas, as you're giving me the insight, I'm going to execute it by way of God. I don't want to ever move without him. I don't want
Yeah.
to be in a position where I'm saying, well, this is what I want and this is what I'm going to do. So when I even talk about you're being the writer, the director, you, baby, it's a stage play. What
Yeah.
what do you want out of life? I said I wanted to, last year I talked about launching my product line. This year it happened. I talked about everything that we speak about. We writing it down. We're looking at it. We're executing it. But
Yeah.
God in front of it all, because it's not finished. As long
Yeah.
as it's woke you up,
Yeah.
air to breathe. Like I said, stop existing and start living. And it's your
Yeah.
life to live. No one else can write your story. It's your story to be written.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. I thank you for that, because sometimes, especially when you don't know who you are, right? when you are insecure, when you feel insignificant, you allow people to write your story and dictate
Yeah.
how you should move, you know? And it's unfortunate, but it's reality. And
Yeah.
so when you tap into a wait a minute, I have a voice moment, you begin to speak things, and you should be mindful of what you speak, because
Yeah.
as you said, life and death lies in the power of the tongue. And so the journal, with you putting that in the journal, for the person that picks it up, that reads it and begin to write afterwards, I know that a light bulb will come on for them. Like, wait a minute, I I have the power to every single day say I'm going to be better. I'm going to win. You know, I'm not going to always feel like this. This too shall pass. You know, I am great. I am amazing. I'm not a failure. You know, begin to speak those things to yourself, affirm yourself daily, so that you can begin to see it actually happening. And that is the power that lies in your tongue. When we speak to ourselves, you ain't crazy. You can look in the mirror and talk to yourself and tell and call those things out. The person that God created you to be, that's who you speak to, not what you see, not what you feel. But here's the thing: if you don't know who God created you to be, then now I'm gonna have to lead you or direct you to read your word, so that you can call those things out. Okay, God, I'm a child of God, and everything that you have, I have. Why am I lacking? I should not be lacking, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to start speaking those things and believing them, so that it can happen, and it is our day-to-day walk. So I say, Ines, I'm so grateful for you coming on today. Thank you for you being a part of the movement. Thank you for pushing me. Thank you for encouraging me and always loving on me and praying for me and making me, when I'm feeling down, you listen, you come in and you be like, baby, listen, you're a unicorn. Like, she say all kinds of stuff. And I'd be like, yeah,
All
what
kinds.
she said.
Right.
I'd be
Period.
like, what she said,
What
you
she
know? And so, I mean, that just goes to show that although I am the founder of this movement, I still need some moving. Does that make sense? I still have moments, weak points, things that I have to work on, healing that I have to do. Sometimes you don't realize that you aren't healed in a certain position or place until you put in position to respond healed or not, right? You might be like, oh, I got a little bit more work to do. Ooh, why did I feel that? Or whatever. And that's okay. It's a journey.
okay.
You don't just arrive there. It's a journey. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the people that God has given me, that He's placed in my life, in the circle of friends, or whether they are just associates, people
Right.
that just call and pray for me, over me, all of those things. I am definitely grateful. So, Ines, I say thank you for coming on today. Is there anything that you would like to leave with the audience before we get off?
Just how my healing took place, like how I really began to heal after my divorce, after I stopped blaming myself, after I lent myself grace, after I start saying that I'm enough. I just want to say to anybody listening, number one, you are enough. Number two, you need to take ownership of your role. I fasted and I prayed and I asked God to show me me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to point fingers at my ex-husband and say that he was the reason behind the dissolving of our marriage. I said, I desire to be married again. I desire to have a healthy, whole relationship. God, show me me so that I can be a better me to the next him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I fast, I had to pray, and God showed me myself. And I apologized. I called my ex-husband on
Mm-hmm.
the phone and I apologized to him for everything that God revealed to me. I apologized. I took ownership. I asked God forgiveness, and then I asked my ex-husband for forgiveness. And when I tell you there was a weight that was lifted, there was such a heavy burden that just was shedded. I mean, baby, I was walking saying, I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like the depression that I was feeling, all that stuff that I was inwardly struggling with, it just was released when I took ownership, asked God
Mm-hmm.
for forgiveness, and
Yeah.
asked ex-husband for forgiveness so I can be healed, so I can be whole, so I can move forward. And I
Yeah.
can tell you, to right now, I am so grateful of my growth, just of who I am as a woman, because
Yeah.
God showed me me.
I love that. That's a great way to end this show, you guys. Ask God to show you you, whether you are divorced or you are still in the relationship or in the marriage. Ask God to show you you every single time there is a disagreement or misunderstanding. ask for your whatever it is that you can be doing differently and better. If you're wrong, if you're right, oftentimes we don't want to say I'm sorry or apologize if we don't think that we were wrong in it. But I'll tell you, a real leader apologizes regardless.
Period.
I apologize, right? And my apology doesn't say I agree that I was wrong. My apology says I'm mature enough to understand that in order for us to move forward, somebody has to step up to the plate and apologize so that we can open the door up to have an effective communication or talk or discussion about what just happened, right? So I will take the first hit and say, you know what, I apologize. How can I serve this situation better than I have been serving it? So to those of you who are married, take a few of those nuggets that Ines was dropping, that we've been dropping throughout this show. And then for those of you that are divorced, understand that there is a lot of healing that has to be done, but there is a process, and you're not in this thing by yourself. This is a movement. So that means that we're open. I am open to all, right? Come one, come all, male or female. It was just women, but now we have opened the door for the men as well. And what I cannot handle, I do have some men that I can direct you to, because there are some things that I don't need to be in, right? I understand that the struggle sometime had something to do with another woman. And so what I'm not going to do in my ministry, in my business, is be the distraction that got you where you're at today. Does that make sense? And so I just ask God to continue to talk to me and show me how to do it properly, and where he is getting the glory and not Make It Rise, and not Life After Divorce, and not TAM, but that God is getting the glory. God is the umbrella. All of the other things, Make It Rise, Life After Divorce, all of that is just on the menu of what God has me doing. So, sis, I say thank you once again. I appreciate you. To the folks that are on listening, thank you so much for joining us. Please share, leave a comment. We'll still go back and read them and respond. And we will see you soon. We'll see you soon.
The opportunity, sis, to
Absolutely.
share. All right.
Bye.
Bye.